The debates were last night, and nobody won, and America lost. And in other news, who am I kidding? That's all we're going to get to today. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, folks, and welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar. You may notice a little bit of a change in the format that we have going on here with the webcam because, and I do apologize for the late start as well, apparently, over the course of last night, my good webcam decided that it was going to have a heart attack, and I don't know what's wrong with it. It doesn't detect unless it goes into the main resolution, so I'm going to tinker around with fix that later on tonight, but the news doesn't stop, and we do need to continue to go on. And some of us do still need to get to work today, at some other point today. So let's just keep on going into the news. We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about, and 95% of it is the debate. So before we get started, head on over to freedomscoop.com. FreedomScoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. We carry great shows such as The Generational Gap, The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The Freckles and Brit Show, who hosted Freedom Scoop's coverage of the debate last night, and The R-Rated Conservative. So come on over, check us out, pick up some of our swag, and help us support great creators. All right, let's get into a little bit of stock news here. We're not going to go too deep into this, of course, but we are seeing some fallout from the debate as well. So looking at the Dow, we had a kind of a U-shaped day that dropped back down, and I didn't see where it started from because I started late as well today, unfortunately, but yeah, it was a pretty well U-shaped day. So let's see what the investors have to say about that. Starting with Investors Business Daily. Dow Jones Futures falls 200 points amid Trump-Biden debate. Regeneron jumps on coronavirus drug news from Scott Latonin. Dow Jones Futures slid more than 200 points before cutting losses, while S&P 500 Futures and NASDAQ 100 Futures were also modestly lower early Wednesday amid the first Trump-Biden presidential debate. Regeneron Pharmaceuticals jumped 3% on positive coronavirus drug news, while Micron Technology tumbled 4% on earnings late Tuesday. The tech-heavy NASDAQ fell 0.3% Tuesday, the S&P 500 dropped 0.5%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average also declined 0.5%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average and S&P 500 indices are finding resistance at their 50-day moving average lines. Among stock market leaders, Apple, Microsoft declined 0.8% and 1% respectively. Tesla fell 0.5% to snap a 3-day winning streak. Stocks to watch in the stock market correction are Alibaba, Beyond Meat, and Target. Beyond Meat, Microsoft, Tesla are IBD leaderboard stocks. Meanwhile, Alibaba is on the IBD leaderboard watch list. After the close on Tuesday, Micron Technology reported strong quarterly results. Micron stock fell nearly 4% in morning trade Wednesday. I can hear myself. That's what I'm hearing. I guess I had the volume up just slightly over on my tablet. Alright, on the futures. Early Wednesday, Dow Jones Futures traded down 0.4% versus fair value, while S&P 500 Futures fell 0.3%. NASDAQ 100 Futures lost 0.45% versus fair value. Remember, overnight action in Dow Jones Futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Tuesday night's U.S. presidential debate was the first of 3 scheduled debates between President Trump and former Vice President Biden. The debate began at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Trump and Biden fielded questions for 90 minutes. So that's what we're going to see out of that. And we've got plenty of debate stuff to talk about. Let's see what CNBC has to say about the markets quick. Stocks making the biggest moves in the pre-market: Disney, Micron, Dow Incorporated, GM, and more. From Peter Shacknow. Walt Disney is cutting 2,800 jobs in its theme parks division as the coronavirus impacts park visits, and as the company's flagship Disneyland Resort remains closed for the foreseeable future due to restrictions imposed by California. Palantir will begin trading on the New York Stock Exchange today in direct listing, with the NYSE setting a reference point of 7.25 per share. For the data analytics company stock, the values Palantir at $15.8 billion ahead of its market debut. Asana will also begin trading today on the New York Stock Exchange with a reference price of $21 a share. For the software company, Palantir and Asana are only the third and fourth companies to go public via direct listing, following Spotify and Slack. Micron beat estimates by 9 cents a share with quarterly earnings of $1.08 per share. The chipmaker's revenue also beat forecasts. Microsoft gave a lower than expected current quarter review estimate, however, partly due to the U.S. government ban on shipments to China's Huawei technology. Dow Incorporated, the material science company, announced plans to reduce its global workforce costs by 6%. Although it did not announce how many jobs might be cut, it will take a current quarter change of $500 million to $600 million in connection with the restructuring. GM will not close its deal to buy a stake in electric truck company maker Nikola today, according to sources who spoke to CNBC's Phil LeBeau. Talks about the two sides will continue, however, amid accusations by short seller Hindenburg Research that Nikola had misled investors about its technology. Nikola has denied those accusations. Caesars Entertainment, the casino's operator's $3.7 billion bid to buy William Hill, was accepted by the British betting firm, with William Hill saying it believed the deal was the best option for shareholders at an attractive price. And we go on. Canada Goose, Royal Dutch Shell, Apple, Moderna, Regeneron. There are a few of them that we need to look at this week, but some of the big movers and some of the new ones that are going onto the stock exchange are things to look at. I mean, if you could pick up Asana for $21 a share, going into the market that we're seeing here, you may actually come out a little bit ahead off of this one. I'm not saying hugely, but of course, I'm not authorized or able to give stock advice either. Micron would be another one to pick up if you could, $1.08 per share. For a chip maker that might start trading with China once again. Oh goodness, with that webcam going down, I am all sorts of unprepared right now. All right, anyway, that's what we have going on with the stocks here. Let's get into the debate. Because I'm pretty sure what everybody's here to see. And Stephen A. Graham just went live too. So we're going to start off with Fox News. From Doug Shane, first presidential debate. Here's who won on style and substance. This is an opinion piece, but for the most part, everything that we're going to see today is. The first presidential debate between President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden has concluded. Following the night, the biggest takeaway is that there were no surprises and nothing happened that will change any attitudes, cause either candidate to gain or lose any votes, or move any undecided voters one way or the other. Indeed, while the debate was contentious and at times it became personal, it lacked any real substance that could change attitudes in any meaningful way. I don't know, my attitude changed about it a little bit, but we'll talk about that a bit later. Given the level of back and forth between the candidates, the substance of the candidates' answer was often lost and took a back seat to their style of argumentation and command of the room. Don't talk to me about who's smarter. Shut up, man. Come on. Though, in terms of style, in my view, President Trump was the clear winner, because you're a Fox News shill and you think Trump walks on water. Trump was in command of the conversation. Well, that's fact check true, in control of the discussion, and if not presidential, certainly more in command. Biden, on the other hand, became exasperated at times in the face of Trump's stop-at-nothing strategy, as the president spoke over Biden and the moderator, and Biden even leveled personal attacks on Trump, calling him a liar and a clown. Well, that went both ways too. In terms of actual substance, however, the night was a draw. President Trump was weakest on the topic of the coronavirus, which is unsurprising. The pandemic is a clear political vulnerability for the president, giving most public schools show that a majority of Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of the virus. Likewise, Biden was the strongest during the coronavirus discussion. Biden landed solid attacks on Trump for downplaying the threat of the coronavirus early on, which he argued has contributed to 200,000 Americans dead from the coronavirus pandemic, and the U.S. doing dramatically worse than the rest of the world. Trump struggled to communicate a compelling case on the coronavirus pandemic, and flailed and veered off topic when Biden attacked Trump for his failure to lead on the pandemic, at one point calling Biden stupid and questioning his college record. Yeah, that's pretty well all that we need to know from this opinion piece. I mean, that pretty much sums it up right there. Trump struggled to communicate a compelling case on the coronavirus pandemic. When Biden attacked Trump for his failure to lead on the pandemic, at one point calling Biden stupid. That's the whole debate right there in one paragraph. That is it. But yeah, this was a fucking dumpster fire. And Chris Wallace trying to lump in, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but Chris Wallace trying to lump in militias with white supremacists, that was a trap. And I'm going to go into a little bit more depth on that because I actually have the clip up here on one of these tweets. So we'll be talking about that in just a moment. But everything, Donald Trump was debating Chris Wallace and Joe Biden at the same time. Biden was trying to score cheap political points. So was Trump. So was Wallace. This was a shit show. Let's keep going here from CNN. 6 takeaways from the off-the-rails first debate between Biden and Trump from Eric Bradner and Kevin Liptak. President Trump turned his first debate with Democratic rival Joe Biden into a chaotic disaster. Trump bullied, bulldozed, and obfuscated his way through the 90-minute showdown, interrupting Biden and moderator Chris Wallace of Fox News at every turn. He ignored substantive questions and Biden's policy arguments, and instead swung at the straw man version of Biden. Yeah, this isn't an opinion piece by any stretch of the imagination. Taking aim at both Biden's son and a distorted description of his record that exists primarily in far-right media. Jesus fucking Christ. And this isn't marked as an opinion piece. This is marked as an actual genuine news story. Over Trump's interruptions, Biden responded by mocking the president, calling him a clown, a racist, and the worst president America's ever had. Which is rich considering the fact that this country has had FDR, Woodrow Wilson, Barack Obama, 2 Bushes, Nixon, Lincoln. Should I go on? He criticized Trump's handling of the coronavirus pandemic, his failure to produce a healthcare plan, and his response to protests over racial injustice. Over and over, Wallace tried to regain control of the debate without success when Trump complained that he was being chastised for talking over questions and Biden's answers. Wallace shot back, "Wrigley, you've been doing more interrupting." Trump, who has trailed Biden in national and swing state polls, made little effort to reach out to voters who do not currently support him. He could have further damaged his standing by refusing to condemn white supremacists, because he hasn't done that 1,000 times throughout this term, after being asked to do so multiple times. Here are 6 takeaways from the first of 3 presidential debates. 1. Trump doesn't condemn white supremacists. That was a fucking trap, and we'll talk about that one in just a second. Repeatedly and directed, Biden called Trump a racist. Of course he fucking did. That's the only line of attack that he has. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try and generate racist hatred, racist division. It's funny. You're not supposed to be hearing the dog whistle if there's a dog whistle, but you're the only one that hears it, Joe Biden. You and the left-wing ilk. During a portion of the debate that focused on race relations, protests, violence, and policing, Trump tried to latch Biden to the violent and destructive elements of this summer's protests over the police killings of George Floyd in Minnesota, Breonna Taylor in Kentucky, and others. Even as Biden condemned violence, Trump also claimed that America's suburbs, which have tilted in Democrats' favor during his tenure, would be gone if Biden is elected. Yeah, that was probably not the right way to go about this. Disputing the election. Amid unleashing a barrage of misinformation and falsehoods about mail-in voting, Trump failed to affirm the one thing that he was asked about, whether it would encourage his supporters to be peaceful if election results are unclear. Yes, that was a fucking trap too. Once again, this is an opinion piece, but they're marking it as news. Anything but coronavirus. Trump. Talking over the Supreme Court. Jesus, that was fucking dumb of me. The dominant issue on Capitol Hill right now was Trump's nomination of Amy Coney Barrett to replace the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But while the debate opened with questions about the High Court, the details were largely lost amid the chaos, as Trump interrupted Biden's answers and Wallace struggled to rein in a debate that was devolving into disarray from its opening moments. Trump, Trump, Trump. Will you shut up, man? Biden largely responded to Trump's obfuscations and interruptions with eye rolls, head shakes, chuckles, and "Come on, man!" But he never lost his temper. But he made glaringly clear how he thinks of Trump. No, he lost his temper. Family matters. It took about 45 minutes for Trump to raise an issue his advisors said he is itching to bring up, Hunter Biden. That's because nobody in the news has talked about Hunter Biden. And going back and just going with this once again, America lost this debate. If I had to pick a clear winner out of the two, it would be Trump, just because of the command of the conversation off this. But as of right now, Trump is the best choice for Americans to be the president, and that is a world that I do not want to be living in. Holy fuck. Oh. So, anyway, we're going to move off of this opinion piece from CNN. We're going to grab one from the New York Post. Who won the first presidential debate? Experts grade Trump-Biden mess, from Nolan Hicks. President Trump and his Democratic challenger Joe Biden spent more than an hour during the first presidential debate in Cleveland, Ohio, brawling over how to best manage the deadly coronavirus crisis, taxes, climate change, and a host of other domestic policy issues. The messy debate frequently turned nasty, featuring shouting matches and repeated interruptions that left the moderator, Fox News' Chris Wallace, and our panel of election experts deeply frustrated. Both landed some shots, both interrupted too much, and they acted like children, said Mac Macawowiak, a longtime Republican strategist, podcast host, and chairman of the local Republican Party in Austin, Texas. Another election night analyst for the Post, Liz Benjamin, is no stranger to rough and tumble politics, but this veteran of Albany, who covered it as a reporter, columnist, and the former longtime anchor of Capital Tonight, before becoming a communications consultant, called it a draw. This was a wash, she wrote. Both candidates accomplished what they had to do by playing their respective bases and avoiding any disqualifying gaffes. There were memorable moments. Would you shut up, man? But no balls knocked out of the park, she added, referencing one of Biden's interjections. That's what our three analysts made of the sprawling 90-minute slugfest, but longtime Staten Island Republican strategist Letitia Remaro gave Trump a slight edge. Trump by a hair, he was forceful and solidified his base, but loses points for interrupting, wrote Remaro, a regular on New York One's Inside City Hall, who ran public relations for the Battery Park City Authority in the aftermath of the September 11th terror attacks. Biden didn't seem as strong, but did exude compassion, which feeds his base, added Remaro, who is planning to run for Staten Island Borough President on the GOP line in 2021. So, they've got Trump by just a hair over at the New York Post. I think it was a little bit more than that. Let's keep going here. From the Blaze, President Trump rips Biden for refusing to answer court packing questions. A fierce response, because the Blaze tends to kneel down in front of President Trump. Just as fast as Charlie Kirk does, by the way. President Trump attacked Democratic presidential nominee former President Joe Biden during Thursday night's debate after Biden refused to answer whether he would add justices to the Supreme Court following Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death. Ginsburg died September 18th at the age of 87 following a long bout with cancer. In the first presidential debates, Biden demanded Trump shut up, man, and refused to say whether he would pack the court if the president's conservative pick, Amy Coney Barrett, is confirmed to replace the late Justice Ginsburg. Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue, Biden said. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting. Now, vote. Let your senators know how strongly you feel, but vote now. Trump interrupted. Are you going to pack the court? Are you going to pack the court? Trump then turned to moderator Chris Wallace and, referring to Biden, said, he doesn't want to answer. Biden insisting, I'm not going to answer the question because the question is. Trailing off while Trump interrupted him to answer the question once more. Will you shut up, man? Biden fired back. Trump, undaunted, continued, who's on your list, Joe? Who's on your list? He's going to pack the court. Biden, clearly frustrated, snapped, "This is so unpresidential, man. Keep yapping, man." Trump then came in for the kill and said, "The people understand, Joe. In 47 years, you've done nothing. They understand." I actually have this clip queued up for a little bit later on in the show as well, so we'll talk about that. But yeah, that's... Biden knows. He doesn't know where he is half the time, but he does know that if he winds up on the defensive, he's fucked. His best strategy is to keep Trump on the defensive, and given the fact that he's the incumbent right now, that's actually not hard to do. But that's what he needs to do if he wants to win, is to keep him in the defensive position. Once he's in the defensive position, he's going to start spouting off bullshit and challenge people to fist fights and push-up contests and stupid shit like that. He'll start saying stupid shit if he's on the defensive. Like he did. "Will you shut up, man?" He can't answer this question, because if he says yes, he loses the moderates, and he puts fire under the base of Trump, and if he says no, he loses the radicals. So that's what we're going to see up off of this. Let's keep going from the Daily Wire. Trump challenges moderator Chris Wallace. "I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay." From Tim Pierce. President Trump butted heads with Fox News anchor Chris Wallace early in Tuesday night's debate over health care policy, prompting the president to go after Wallace for attempting to join the debate rather than moderate it. Trump and the Democratic candidate Joe Biden, former Vice President of the United States, met on a debate stage in Cleveland, Ohio on Tuesday night for the first presidential debate of the 2020 campaign. Early in the night, Wallace struggled to get a question out over Trump's plan for health care policy after Trump has heavily criticized the Affordable Care Act, known as Obamacare, passed under the former President Barack Obama and Biden. "You promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare," Wallace began before Trump interrupted. "Of course I have. I got rid of the individual mandate," Trump said over Wallace, as the moderator struggled to get his question out. "That is absolutely a big thing. That was one of the worst parts of Obamacare." The two struggled to be heard over the sound of the other until Wallace, exasperated, finally said, "Mr. President, I'm the moderator of this debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question." "Go ahead, Chris." Let's actually listen to this a little bit, because we've got a lot more to listen to, but let's have a listen.
Is opposed to Roe v. Wade, is that the president also is opposed to Roe v. Wade. That's on the ballot as well in the court. And so that's also at stake right now. And so the election is all
You don't know it's
begun.
on the ballot. Why is it on the ballot?
Because
Why is it on the ballot?
it's
not on the ballot.
It's on the ballot in the court.
I don't think so.
In the court. Well,
there's nothing happening there.
Donald, would you
and
just
you don't
be quiet
know
for a
her
minute?
view on Roe v. Wade.
I don't.
Promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a comprehensive plan
Yes,
to
I have.
replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well,
I got rid of the individual
when I finish,
mandate.
I'm going to give you an
Excuse
opportunity.
me. I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a
That
big
is not
chunk
a
of
comprehensive
Obamacare. That
plan.
is absolutely a big thing. That was the worst
I didn't
part of
ask
Obamacare.
Sir,
Chris,
you're
that was the
debating him,
worst
not
part
me.
of Obamacare.
Let me ask my
Well,
question.
I'll ask Joe. The individual mandate was the most unpopular aspect of Obamacare. I got rid of it.
I'd like
and we will protect
Mr.
people
President,
with
I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer.
Yeah, that's the thing that happened. I'm just going to keep my headphones on at this point because we've got a lot of clips to listen to. But yeah, and first off, I do have to remind everybody that yes, the president and Congress, or the Senate rather, did sit down and come up with a plan for the ACA, but it died in the filibuster. For Wallace to come out and say that you've never come up with a comprehensive plan, they did come up with a comprehensive plan. It sucked fucking balls, and they just need to get the whole fucking thing out of there and get the government out of healthcare. But He did come up with a plan, so Chris Wallace saying that he didn't is a flat-out, blatant fucking lie. Just want everybody to remember the fact that Wallace came up and lied to the American people and said that Trump never came up with a comprehensive plan. He most certainly did. I don't ever want to vote on that plan. I don't want to have Trump care any more than I want to have Obamacare, but yes, he did come up with a plan. So, and it was 90 minutes of that. Let's listen to this.
Go ahead. You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare, and just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump health care plan?
Right. Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something, that there's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against Big Pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 40.
And he went on to say you could have done that during your 47 years. So, yeah, 90 minutes of that. Speaking of which, we've got another clip to grab that I picked up from Twitter. Out of ABC News over on Twitter, moderator Chris Wallace to Trump as he repeatedly interrupts Biden. Your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2 minutes answers uninterrupted. Why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to? Let's have a listen.
Gone head to head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses to even say anything to Putin about the bounty on the heads of American soldiers.
Your son got $3.5 million.
And by the way,
now, first off, hold the fuck on right there, because I have yet to see any definitive proof of this bounty on the head thing. I have yet to see any definitive proof that that happened. I've heard a lot of people grumbling, but given the fact that that fell straight the fuck out of the news, I'm going to call that one bullshit. But hey, it's a talking point at least.
wait,
Mr.
my son.
Wait a minute. Mr. President, your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
He never keeps his word. Can you add back
No, I'm not asking. That was a rhetorical question.
Can you
Go
add
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yes,
Okay.
you may have.
All right.
That was not a rhetorical question. That was a directed question. If that was a rhetorical question, you're calling the president an asshole on live TV. If that was a rhetorical question. So, fuck you, Wallace.
Go ahead. So, thirdly, we're poor. The billionaires have gotten much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before. In terms of being more violent, when we were in office, there were 15% less violence in America than there is today. He's president of the United States. It's on his watch. And with regard to more divided, the nation can't stay divided. We can't be this way. And speaking of my son, the way you talk about the military, the way you talk about them being losers and being and just being suckers. My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot. And the people left behind there were heroes.
And, of course, that was where ABC cut that off because the reminder went... Now, yes, Joe Biden is going to sit and hide behind Beau Biden for everything else. And ABC is going to cut that right off right there because they don't want to start talking about Hunter. That's exactly where they don't want to be. They do not want to start talking about Hunter because Hunter is a liability for Joe Biden right now. But, yes. Fuck you, Wallace. And everybody that looks like you. Alright, let's keep going. From the Daily Wire, Biden tells Trump to shut up, calls him a racist, clown, not presidential. Chris Wallace runs interference. Is that the one I have queued up? Actually, yeah, let's just listen to that first, then we'll go over to the Daily Wire, because I have that one queued up too.
Wishful thinking. He has executive orders that have no power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been promising a health care plan since he got elected. He has none, like almost everything else he talks about. He does not have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. And the fact is, this man doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right.
He's
I have one final question for you,
Sure.
Mr. Vice President. If Senate Republicans, we were talking originally about the Supreme Court here, if Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices there. You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact it wasn't brought up by the president. It was brought up by some of your Democratic colleagues in the Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now.
Are you gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're a
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question
You want to put a lot
is
of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justice,
the
radical
question-
left.
Will you
Who
shut
is
up,
on,
man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
right.
Gentlemen,
This is-
I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court.
We have
I'm not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
They sure do.
47 years
That
you've
was
done
really a
nothing.
productive
They
segment.
understand.
All right. The second subject is COVID-19, which is an awfully serious subject. So
And yeah, no, like I said at the top of the show when I was looking through the CNN analysis of this, Biden can't go on the defensive right now. And he is in a position where either answer to that question is going to alienate a part of the people who are planning to vote for him. Plain and simple, he can't answer that question. And if he does, he's on the defensive. His big strategy right now, little as strategy as he has, is to keep Trump on the defensive as the incumbent who is running on the record. And keep his record and the grumblings of his base out of the debate. All right, let's see what the Daily Wire has to say about this. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this because I think that whole clip was just self-explanatory. Democratic nominee Joe Biden lashed out at President Trump during Tuesday night's first 2020 presidential debate, telling POTUS to shut up and calling him a clown and a racist. Ironically, Biden also chided Trump for not being presidential in the same breath he told the president to shut up. Fact check true, by the way. When Biden was being questioned by debate moderator Chris Wallace over whether he would pack the Supreme Court with additional justices if he were to win the election, the former vice president refused to answer and told the president to shut up when Trump pressed him. Are you going to pack the court? Trump asked Biden. Why won't you answer that question? I'm not going to answer the question, man, Biden admitted, telling Trump, will you shut up, man? And we just watched that clip. So, in another portion of the debate where Trump was explaining his administration's crackdown on left-wing critical race theory, Biden flat out called Trump a racist. They were teaching people to hate our country, Trump said, declaring that critical race theory is racist in itself. Nobody's done that, Biden interrupted. He's the racist. It's like the end of a Scooby-Doo episode. Biden leaned down and pulled the mask off Trump and said, See, he's the racist. When President Trump tried to respond, debate moderator Chris Wallace chided the president. Let him finish. Oh, I don't have this one queued up.
after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case.
Oh, that's 5 minutes. We're not going to go with that one. We're running behind as it is. So, yeah, that's... I mean, 90 minutes of that. I'm going to try and host... I got to sit down and talk to Britt and Steven and everybody. I'm going to try and host the second night of debates for this one. But, yeah. 90 minutes of that. All right. I have got another one here. This is the... I noticed over on the corner of my eye, I did have a question about this in the live chat, and I want to touch on this one here, which I pointed it out on Twitter, too, just a bit ago. Now, Chris Wallace A lot of people didn't pick up on this. I picked up on it immediately as soon as I saw it, and I tweeted about it after the debate. But Chris Wallace lumped militia groups in with white supremacists. So basically, if you want to defend your home, yourself, and your community, you're a white supremacist, according to Chris Wallace. And nobody else has picked up on that. Now, the president has, in fact, condemned white supremacists numerous times. The whole lie that Biden... I started my campaign because President Trump said good people on both sides. Where in the paragraph right before that, he said, but not the neo-Nazis. Or, I'm sorry, immediately after that, he said, not the neo-Nazis. But not the white supremacists and neo-Nazis. And that is a selectively edited clip. But let's hear what the two of these idiots have to say.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups?
See, right there. See? That's what I'm telling you, right there. White supremacists and militia groups. That was a trap to try and turn the gun rights activists against the president. That was a trap. And I know that was a trap. I knew exactly what was going on as soon as he said that. And good counter on that one. I mean, it sucks that he had to avoid answering the question because that would have been a great big nail against Biden right there. Which I'm sure that was why that was buried in there, so that he couldn't have the nail to drive into the Biden campaign. But that was a trap right there.
Sure. And to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland.
Sure,
Are you
I'm
prepared to
do
specifically
that,
do it?
Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
And I want to point something else to Wallace, and this is the reason that's pissed me off so much. If I still lived in Kenosha when Jacob Blake happened, you know who would have been in that militia defending Kenosha? This fucking guy right here. And I am not a white supremacist. I can tell you that right off the bat. I'm not a white supremacist. I'm not a collectivist. I'm an individualist. If you're cool, no matter what color your skin is, you're cool. If you suck, no matter what color your skin is, you suck. But I would have been there defending the town from people that were trying to burn it to the ground, especially as close to where I lived as they were. Try and lump me in with white supremacists. Fuck you, Wallace.
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call them? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing.
FBI director
This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacist. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got to be
not
kidding.
militia. That's what his
It's an idea.
FBI. His FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well, then you know what?
No, we're done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're
When
moving.
a bat hits you over the head, that's not an idea.
When a bat hits you over the head, that's not an idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is
administration
bad.
tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas.
Antifa is a dangerous,
All right,
radical
gentlemen,
group.
you have.
So, yeah, and the Proud Boys popping up off of this too. Like, I have no problem with the Proud Boys. I really don't. I wouldn't join them. I have no intention of joining them, but for the most part, they do just kind of hang back. They go out and they make a protest, and then Antifa shows up to counter-protest them. From everything that I have seen, and it's been very few because they almost never get a march off without somebody coming in and interrupting them. But from everything that I've seen, the violence doesn't start until both sides are on the field. So, show me otherwise. Show me them going out and burning a building, bashing in windows, or bashing people over the head with a bat without being in the midst of a counter-protest, and I will condemn them with you. But I've yet to see something like that All right, let's keep going here. From NBC News, Proud Boys celebrate after Trump's debate call-out. That was Biden's call-out, by the way, NBC News. From Ben Collins and Brandy Zadrozny, the Proud Boys, a far-right extremist group, pledged allegiance to President Trump on Tuesday night after he told the group to stand back and stand by during the first presidential debate. Many people on social media who identify with the group echoed that language, saying that they were standing down and standing by. One known social media account for the group made Stand Back, Stand By part of its new logo. Trump was asked by debate moderator Chris Wallace to disavow white supremacy and militia groups, by the way, fuck you, NBC News. During part of the debate focused on race, Wallace asked whether Trump would urge white supremacist groups that inflame violence as a nationwide protest to stand down. Trump said to give me a name, and when asked to denounce a specific group, the former Vice President, Joe Biden, called out the Proud Boys. But Trump did not denounce any far-right or white supremacist groups, and then pivoted back to talk about Antifa. On the Proud Boys account, the social media app Telegram, the group appeared to take the statement as marching orders. Standing down and standing by, sir, the account wrote. The account then posted 2 videos of the answer, including one with the caption, God, Family, Brotherhood, in which a man howled at the TV in response to Trump's response. Megan Squire, a computer science professor at Elon University in North Carolina who tracks online extremism, said Trump's giving the Proud Boys orders was their long-sought fantasy. To say Proud Boys are energized by this is an understatement, Squire said. They were pro-Trump before this shout-out, and they are absolutely over the moon now. Their fantasy is to fight Antifa in his defense, and he apparently just asked them to do that. The Proud Boys, a self-described Western chauvinist organization, is considered a violent, nationalistic, Islamophobic, transphobic, and misogynistic hate group, according to the ADL, but we've seen how much shit they have on the shelf. I mean, I'm a fucking racist, according to the ADL. A non-profit extremist organization that traps groups that that people on the left don't like. The Proud Boys members marched at the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, and have organized against Black Lives Matter protests in recent months. The group recently staged a rally in Portland, Oregon, in support of Trump. About 200 people, some armed with guns, attended the rally, short of the expectations of thousands. Proud Boys organizer Joe Biggs also posted after the debate that he was standing by, and he said the president basically said to go fuck them up. Really? I didn't hear that. President Trump told the Proud Boys to stand by because someone needs to deal with Antifa. Well, sir, we're ready, Biggs wrote. If that's what you read into that, then you're more idiotic than Biden is. But go ahead and keep doing that and feed more fuel to the ADL. The ADL CEO Jonathan Greenblatt said in a tweet, the president's answer was astonishing. President Trump owes America an apology or an explanation, he said. Now. Why? Trump's comments drew widespread condemnation on social media. Yamiche Alcindor, a White House correspondent for PBS NewsHour, tweeted that she quoted the refusal to condemn the white supremacy multiple times on air. So, yeah, this is NBC sitting down and sucking off Biden, if he can even get it up at this point. But yeah, I mean, if you show me a violent situation that the Proud Boys started, then I will get right behind you and condemn them. But I mean, the most violent thing that the Proud Boys I have seen so far do is say that they were going over to Portland and then bait Antifa over into Portland, and then Antifa go out and start bashing people over the head when the Proud Boys didn't show up and sat in their basement and played fucking video games. So that's what we have up off of this. Let's keep going. From the Daily Wire, Trump challenges Biden to name one law enforcement group that supports him. He doesn't. From Tim Pierce. President Trump slammed Democratic candidate Joe Biden for his apparent lack of support from police unions and other law enforcement groups after hundreds of riots shook American cities over the summer. Trump and Biden met on a debate stage in Cleveland, Ohio on Tuesday night for the first presidential debate of the 2020 campaign, hosted by Fox News and moderated by anchor Chris Wallace. Wallace raised the issue of the future of policing, pressing the candidates directly on their thoughts about activist calls to replace police departments with community policing. He's talking about defunding the police. He doesn't have any law support. He has no law enforcement support. Almost nothing, Trump said, interrupting Biden's answer to Wallace's question. That's not true, Biden shot back. Oh, really? Who do you have? Trump continued to press. Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go ahead. Think. We have time. We don't have time to do anything except, all right, folks, Biden responded, mumbling through part of his answer. Name one law enforcement group that came out and supported you, Joe. Trump challenged Biden again. There aren't. I don't think there are any.
Almost nothing.
Look.
Oh, really? Who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go ahead. Think. We have time.
We don't have time to do anything.
Think about it. Name one law enforcement group that came out and supported
gentlemen,
you.
I think I'm going to take back the moderator's
I don't
role,
think there are any.
and I want to get
You're not a
to
fucking
another
moderator,
subject.
you cocksucker. All right, so that's what we had from that there. I think only got a few, yeah. Okay, we do have a little bit more than a few more to do on the debate here. Let's see what the Blaze has to say. Trump backs Biden into a corner on the Green New Deal, and the far left is gnashing its teeth over what he said. That means you just lost the radical left. Gone. From Carlos Garcia. President Donald Trump backed Democratic competitor Joe Biden into a corner about the Green New Deal, and the far left were angered over what he said Tuesday night during the first presidential debate. The president hammered Biden over climate change by repeating estimates about the Green New Deal costing upwards of $100 trillion. Biden claimed that the controversial Green New Deal would pay for itself, then said that he didn't support it, and then said that he had his own version of it during the debate. The Green New Deal will pay for itself as we move forward, Biden said. We're not going to build plants that are, in fact, great polluting. Do you support the Green New Deal? Interrupted moderator Chris Wallace. No, I don't support the Green New Deal. Oh, you don't? Well, that's a big statement, Trump said. That means you just lost the radical left. Gone. I support the Biden plan that I put forward, the Biden plan, which is different from what he calls the radical Green New Deal, Biden said. Some on the far left were aggravated by Biden's comments on the Green New Deal, and they took to social media to express their frustration. Oh good, I was worried that the left wouldn't get trashed anymore in the debate, but just in time, let's shred the Green New Deal, giving young voters and progressives lots of reasons to vote, liberal host Crystal Ball tweeted. Green Party presidential candidate Howie Hawkins. Oh, well that answers my question. Dude, looks like hippie grandpa. Is that hippie grandma's husband? Biden makes clear that he does not support the Green New Deal. Fossil fuel companies will continue to have a friend in the White House. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was also angered that the president was using cost figures for the Green New Deal she disagreed with. Of course she was, because it pokes a gigantic fucking hole in the legislation that she introduced. And every Democrat in the Senate voted present on. Not yes or no, present. When Republicans talk about the Green New Deal being $100 trillion, please know what they're doing, that Dr. Evil thing where they shout random escalating numbers to sound ominous, said Ocasio-Cortez, who offered a link to an alternative view. Others on social media pointed out that Biden's vice presidential running mate Kamala Harris was a co-sponsor on the Green New Deal. And voted present on it, by the way. She co-sponsored it and then voted present. She didn't vote yes. But there's also another fact check about this as to what they feel about the Green New Deal from over on Twitter. Biden tonight. The Green New Deal is not my plan. Biden website. Biden believes the Green New Deal is a crucial framework. So what is it, Joe? You can't have it both ways. Comrades Bernie and AOC and the American people deserve an answer. And here it is. From coastal towns to rural farms to urban centers, climate change poses an existential threat down in the highlighted section. Biden believes the Green New Deal is a crucial framework for meeting the climate challenges we face. It powerfully captures two basic truths, which are the core of his plan. The United States urgently needs to embrace greater ambition on an epic scale to meet the scope of this challenge, and our environment and our economy are completely and totally connected. Well, the second part of that is true, but yes, absolutely, 100% right on the website. Let's keep going. From the Blaze. Here's what President Trump was referring to when he said fraud has been established with mail-in voting. Dude, there's more stories that come out every day, and I can't believe. Well, I can believe because the media is in the pocket for these people, but I can't believe that nobody's pointing out the fact that there is a new story every day of ballots in a trash bin, or in a ditch, or in a reservoir, or somewhere other than being counted. And they all say the same name on them. From Breck Dumas. President Donald Trump said during Tuesday night's first presidential debate that fraud has been established as a risk with mail-in voting, citing a recent race between two Democrats. As the debate began to wrap up, Trump pushed back on the Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's claim that no one has established at all that there's fraud related to mail-in ballots, that somehow it's a fraudulent process. It's already been established, the president replied. Take a look at Carolyn Maloney's race, Trump suggested to moderator Chris Wallace. Look at Carolyn Maloney. They have no idea what happened. President Trump was not able to elaborate as Wallace returned to the floor to Biden, who said the president has no idea what he's talking about.
Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. We count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why was it not? Why is it for
He knows what happened at the end of the Civil War because he was there.
them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots, that somehow it's a fraudulent process.
It's already been established. Take a look at Carolyn Maloney's race.
I asked you had an opportunity to respond.
Carolyn Maloney.
Go ahead.
They have no idea what
Vice President Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is,
Here's
I
the
will
deal.
accept it, and he will too. You know why? Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome. And I'll be a president not just for the Democrats. I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans. And this guy,
I want to see an
fact,
honest ballot count.
Gentlemen, you say that's the end of it? This is the end of this debate?
Honest ballot count.
We're going to leave it there. To be continued as in more debates as we go on. President Trump.
So yes, that was the exchange. What President Trump was referring to was a June primary race between incumbent Representative Carolyn Maloney, a Democrat in New York, and her challenger, fellow Democrat Suraj Patel. Patel did not concede for more than 2 months because, according to India West, the results were delayed and contested due to problems counting absentee ballots. Neither of the candidates alleged fraudulent or duplicate voting, but they did allege some ballots were improperly not counted. Fox News reported last month that the Maloney-Patel race and another New York race, mired by thousands of missing and uncounted mail-in ballots, have become Exhibit A in President Trump's campaign against universal mail-in ballots, which he and several experts say poses a major fraud risk. So, that's the race that he was talking about, and Maloney, of course, had to come up there and weigh herself in because she has to play to her Democrat base. Donald, I won my election, you're going to lose yours. Let's be clear, the issue in my race was disenfranchisement, not voter fraud. More than 1 in 5 ballots were discarded, many multiples of the final margin. We called our election a canary in a coal mine for November. We were right. Trump lied about what happened here. So, yes, he came out in support of them, and they decided to turn around and unload on him. So, yeah, that's that. All right. just a couple more on the debate, and then I've got just a couple other stories to do at the end of this. From the New York Post, the best Twitter reactions to the first Trump-Biden presidential debate. From Tamar Lapine. The first debate between President Trump and Joe Biden on Tuesday night immediately sparked the onslaught of gripes and jokes on social media. Twitter users both stewed over and poked fun at everything from the format and moderator to crosstalk between the septuagenarian candidates and the schoolyard jibes they exchanged. I started this debate with a white wine spritzer, and now I need tequila. Lots of tequila. Doubles, triples. Actress Gabrielle Union tweeted. Twitter user Tiffany Lazo asked, was it just me, or was that SNL skit not as funny as previous ones? Another user, Bruce Skellhorn, tweeted at horror author Stephen King that this is a lot scarier than anything you ever wrote. Some said the showdown convinced them that one debate between Trump and Biden was enough, while another person quipped, just confirmed, debate number 2 is just a fistfight in a Chili's parking lot. Sorry, I had a sneeze that was starting to form there. As the debate turned more chaotic, some users wondered if anyone was still watching, or whether the time would be better spent doing anything else. Why did I encourage my children to watch that? Asked Nukak. I should have let them do something more cognitively enriching and less verbally abusive, like playing Minecraft or watch TikTok videos. Yeah, I would have avoided letting your children watch that. But that's just me. So those were some of the takes on that. I've got one from the Babylon Bee I thought you guys would enjoy. Chris Wallace's impartiality question due to his giant foam finger reading Biden 2020. Some are questioning Chris Wallace's neutrality in the debate tonight. Many say he constantly interrupted Trump and refused to challenge Biden. But others are pointing to more obvious clues, like the giant foam finger that he wore that read, Biden 2020. I just don't feel like this guy was being totally unbiased, said one viewer, but to be frank, I can't really put my finger on the reason. He just really seems to be thumbing his noses at the idea of impartiality. I wish I could point to the reason I suspect him of bias. His questions just didn't quite have the ring of fairness about them. He couldn't make an index of all the times he interrupted Trump, while he seemed to have some kind of pinky promise with Joe Biden. Not to contradict him, he just wasn't in the middle. I gotta hand it to him, though. He had a real grip on the issues. That was entertaining. All right, that's all that I have on the debate. Let's do a couple more here. For starters, Bo Erickson over at CBS, Senator Kamala Harris and Doug Emhoff released 2019 tax returns ahead of the debate. Taxable income, $3,018,127. The couple owed $432,000 after credits. Yeah, money in politics, right there. Now, and I've been reading and listening to a little bit more about this New York Times article. I reacted to it immediately, first off. But I've been reading a lot more about this, and to be completely honest, the numbers were skewed to try and make you feel a certain way. That was, you know how sometimes at the end of the year when you file your taxes, sometimes you have to pay in. I actually had to pay in this year. Sometimes you have to pay in when you file your taxes. Well, that's what Trump had to do with the $750, was pay in. The actual total, and Tim Pool pointed this out, Tim Pool did a really, really deep dive on this whole thing, to a point that I kind of wish that I would have done as well, but he did a massively deep dive on this. And it turns out that the actual number that Trump paid in taxes was well over $5 million in 2016 and 2017. He just didn't get anything back for many of the years before. But it was framed, like I said, in the Ed Talk, the impromptu that I did on Sunday. It was framed in a way to make you feel as outraged as they could make you feel in the very beginning of things. They lied, flat out. They lied by omission. And yet, they still haven't released any documents. All they've released is that he only paid $750. So I thought you guys would enjoy that, find that a little bit interesting. Coming from the Daily Wire, David Hogg apologizes for condemning violence by non-white people. It's not my place. Gun control activist David Hogg condemned violence on Monday before backtracking and apologizing for suggesting his comments included violent acts committed by non-white people. Hogg, a co-founder of the gun control advocacy group March for Our Lives, called for a nonviolent political revolution and said that movements pushed through violence and hate are counterproductive. His comments came after a summer of Black Lives Matter protests that spawned hundreds of riots across American cities. Young people can stage a nonviolent revolution over the coming decade, but will require all of us voting very consistently in every election, protesting, organizing and running for office, and most importantly, the persistence, love, and community to overcome setbacks, Hogg tweeted on Monday morning. To do so, we must all practice the humility, kindness, and grace to be political leaders we need to be in order to create such a change. So, yeah, that's how I went to this, but he went down further. Later on, and I actually commented on this one, this is directed specifically at the young white people I see arming themselves or wanting to so they can go out and loot and act in antagonistic ways against the state trying to use allyship as a cover. Let me be clear, what I'm not trying to do is tell BIPOC, or whatever the fuck that word is, people how they should react to violence directed at them by the state. It's not my place or any white person's to direct or criticize the way BIPOC people choose to defend themselves against the violence of the state. So basically, Hogg is coming out and saying that, yes, no, I can tell white people what to do, but black people, if you want to go burn down your cities, absolutely have at it. This kid is a fucking racist just as much as everybody else in the Democrat Party seems to be at this point. But sure, go on and keep telling yourself about the nonviolent political revolution. All right, from CNBC, New York bankruptcies reportedly surged 40% during the pandemic, from Amelia Lucas. Bankruptcies in New York City region have surged more than 40% during the coronavirus pandemic compared with the same time a year ago, according to Bloomberg. The crisis has hit a number of industries across the U.S., with retailers and restaurants among those hardest hit. Century 21, the parent company of Chuck E. Cheese and Neiman Marcus, are among the companies that have filed for bankruptcy as a result of the pandemic. But in New York City, which became the epicenter of the virus in March, the environment has been especially challenged. Tourism has plummeted. Government officials have been more cautious about the reopening economy, and many wealthy residents have fled to the suburbs. From March 16th to September 27th, 610 businesses filed for bankruptcy in the southern and eastern districts of New York, the publication reported Tuesday. The two districts include some counties in the city's neighboring suburbs. Owners of small businesses, which have struggled more during the pandemic, are less likely to file for bankruptcy. Instead, many are simply leaving the keys in the door. Yelp data shows more than 4,000 New York City businesses have permanently closed since March. So, yeah, and I mean, we knew it was happening. We knew it was happening. And we know a lot of these businesses are not going to come back. I'm not seeing so much of it around here, but for the most part, Rock County has thumbed their noses at the state lockdown orders. We don't care. We didn't care about the lockdown orders. We don't care about the mask orders. I bet you in Dane County, and I don't spend money in Dane County. I don't want them to get any of my sales tax money or any of my other tax money. I go around Dane County just to make sure that I don't accidentally spend money there. Like if I have to pee while I'm there and I have to buy something in the store because I had to pee in the gas station while I'm driving through. Or if for whatever reason I drop a drive shaft or blow a tire or something and have to get towed off the side of the road. I don't want to spend sales tax money in that county. And I'm sure that there were a lot more businesses that shut down in Dane County that did in Rock. I'm sure there were more in Milwaukee County, Kenosha County, Racine County that did in Rock, or Waukesha, or Iron County, or any of the other counties that don't give a fuck about the coronavirus, or masks, or anything else. But, Governor Evers, well, let's just treat every county the same, exactly the same, and, we'll do the same thing for everything. So, Yes, it's unfortunate. And there's going to be a major drop-off coming out of New York City as well. I mean, in New York City, I can honestly say 610 businesses is probably not a lot for that city, with a bodega under every apartment building and a bar or something under every apartment building. But still, that is significant either way, because those businesses aren't coming back, and those people are going to move out because they don't have anything to live for in New York City anymore. They can come out and open a bigger store in Wyoming or Idaho or Indiana or someplace like that. So we'll see what's happening with that. And the last one that I have here for the news from the Daily Wire: Rush Limbaugh, New York Times reporter on Trump's taxes, a total bust. Media experts are acting like ignoramuses. From Tim Pierce. Conservative talk show host Rush Limbaugh ripped Democrats in the media on Monday for publishing a dud story on President Trump's tax returns. Then you've got this New York Times story. I'm sorry, the tax story. It's a dud. It's a dud measured against their expectations and their hopes, Limbaugh said on his radio show, according to a show transcript. The New York Times published a story analyzing years of Trump tax returns on Sunday, finding that the president paid little in income tax over nearly 2 decades and that he has accrued a substantial debt, though the New York Times did not identify anything in the report as illegal. The president denied the New York Times report in a press conference on Sunday, calling it totally made up. Limbaugh pointed out the story fails for another reason: a lack of Russian connections. This tax business is a total bust because the primary reason the Democrats in the media wanted it was they were convinced that they could get a hold of Trump's tax returns, that inside those returns they would find evidence, irrefutable evidence, that Trump had indeed meddled with the Russians, that Trump indeed owed all his financial legitimacy to the Russians, Limbaugh said. That this is why Trump never wanted to release them, because inside those tax returns was the evidence that Trump and the Russians were in bed together. Well, I mean, he is in bed with a Slovakian wife, so. That Trump was a Russian agent, that Trump had gone to Russia to get bailed out, that it was the Russians who had propped up Trump financially, that it was the Russians that had enabled Trump to remain financially solvent, he continued. And of course, there's none of that. None of that is in Trump's tax returns whatsoever. There were no connections in Russia in here. Mr. Snerdley, none. Zip, zero, nada. Gigantic bomb out, Limbaugh said, addressing his show producer, James Golden, who works under the pseudonym Bo Snerdley. Limbaugh said the other analysts in the media have commented on the New York Times story are ignorant of the U.S. tax code, or at least pretending to be, in order to push a narrative most damaging to Trump as the presidential election nears. Yes, this whole story was a gigantic nothing burger. We're going to talk about this more on Monday, that story, along with the debates, because the fucking debates. But we're going to be talking about the reaction to the tax story now that more information is coming out of that, and the debate as well. But definitely, if you want to get some more information before that, go check out Tim Pool's video on the tax return thing, because he actually went through and did a deep dive into this. I've not had an opportunity to do so yet at this point. But I still have the archive linked out there, but he went through and did a massive deep dive on this. The kind of deep dive that you really need to go through for something like this. And I applaud him for doing that. But that's what we're seeing up off of this. And it's Wednesday, so we're going to do something that I'm thankful for. And I am thankful for the fact that we've got such a good network over here on the Freedom Scoop Media Group. And we've got a network on the outside as well. That was, to sit down and see the analysis that the Freckles and Brit Show did last night over on their D-Live exclusive on the debate was, it was good. It was good to see Stephen with them and reaching out to Clint from Liberty Lockpod. It was a good show. Now, once again, I've got the network connections. I am going to lobby to get the second debate. And I'm going to see if I can sit down with the R-rated conservative and have him and I sit down and analyze this. Probably grab another couple of guests to go along with it. So I hope to see you guys on that one. we will definitely be enjoying that. But thankfully enough that, and that's something that I try to do for them as well, as I would have streamed the same thing. But I try not to stream at the same time as Freedom Scoop guys because I want them to have undivided attention and not. We have a lot of crossover audience between all the shows, so I want to make sure that they get their time as well. But thanks for the network, and thanks everybody for coming and joining us and having the networking out there for that. That was a little bit of a cheap one there, but definitely is something I'm thankful for nonetheless. And that's going to be it for the day. We will be back here tomorrow with more contemporary, probably more debate analysis, because more of it's going to come out. And some of the stories that I skipped today that are in the Discord right now because the debate took up so much of what we talked about today. But I got to throw some breakfast down and get off to work here. So we will be back here tomorrow and hope to see you then. Hopefully earlier, and hopefully I get my webcam issue fixed. But until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.